What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to sit down and film for you a pros and cons of UNC Chapel Hill. I just graduated from there, and I've been through the ups and downs. I've talked with all my roommates through all 4 years. I kind of know what is super great and what is terrible. Everyone I talk to pretty much has the top few things where they're like, damn, I wish UNC had this, or I wish UNC didn't have this. But at the same time, once you're a Tar Heel, you're always a Tar Heel, and it's the greatest university in America. I'm not biased. So yeah, I wanted to give you a, very good look at UNC Chapel Hill holistically, and just kind of talk about everything from academics to nightlife to everything in between, so that you could see kind of the pros and cons. I'm assuming people watching this would be probably incoming freshmen. I mean, honestly, I watched these all throughout my 4 years and was like, agreed or disagreed. Let me know what you think if you go to UNC or if you went to UNC. Definitely check out my Instagram right here. I post a lot of UNC content. I have a whole Tar Heels highlight. And make sure that you subscribe and stick around for the end to see all my pros and cons of UNC Chapel Hill. Okay, so I've got a list right here on my phone. I just kind of wrote down on top of my head pros and cons. We'll start with the pros. We're going to start on a positive note here. So first pro about UNC is the beautiful, beautiful campus that you will be living on and walking through every single day. It's so beautiful. It's just so peaceful, and if you're ever stressed out or anything like that, just walking through the quad by the old well, it's a great time just to take a deep breath and remember that you're at a really great school. It's definitely like a suburban country vibe to it. The buildings are old, Franklin Street is old, but everything's really nicely well done and redone, and it's overall just a super beautiful place to be. You can't help but be happy when you're walking through that campus. You really can't. Second pro that I had is there is unlimited places to study and work. I can think of 4 libraries off the top of my head, and 3 of those are within probably 50 feet of each other, literally. So let me think. There's Wilson Library, which is kind of the beautiful old white building that marks UNC in a way. I studied in there once or twice. It's like probably the most quiet. It's very quiet. It's very prestigious. Then there's the UL right next door, which is a little more hustle and bustle. There's more going on there. It's a little more acceptable to speak, if you will. That was my favorite. It stays open all night long. I like noise when I'm working, so that was where I usually went. And then there's Davis Library, which is 8 floors. The higher up you go, the more quiet it gets, kind of thing. 8th floor is like dead silent. I don't even know if I ever went to the 8th floor, maybe once or twice. But that's like the biggest library that you'll hear about on main campus. And then, Health Science Library. There's libraries on, the other sides of campus as well, but those are the 3 main ones that you would probably be working at. And they all have staff, they all have printers, they all have unlimited resources, anything you could need for a project or homework or class or anything like that. And then if you're like me and you don't necessarily always want to work in a library, there is probably like 20 coffee shops on campus, plus Franklin Street. Plus there's the student union, which is just literally a building full of comfy couches and tables. Any empty classroom you can work in. There's literally unlimited space. You can find your vibe that fits you right. You want a library, you want dead silent, you got it. You got crazy busy coffee shop, you got that too. And just besides directly on campus, Chapel Hill in general has some awesome coffee shops. Let me think of a few. Open Eye in Carborough, Gray Squirrel in Carborough. There's just so many. I honestly can't even think right now. There's so many great places in Chapel Hill to study, and it's a very much student city. So if you go to a coffee shop at 11 p.m. on a Saturday, you won't be the only one in there. There will be people in there, and that always made me feel good and feel safe and feel like I was in a student environment, which is great. UNC has unlimited places to study, and along with that is unlimited resources. So the next thing I want to mention, which kind of goes along with that, is that you will have a huge Tar Heel network. Starting off when you're on campus, there's career services. All your professors are going to be amazing, and they want to talk to you. Like, I've never had a bad, rude professor. I had professors I might not have loved, like their work style, but they're all really kind and they all want to talk to you. If they have research or something that you can be part of, they want you to be part of it. Definitely reach out to people. And then on top of that, there's student groups, anything you can think of. There's Facebook groups. I'm in a bunch. I'm in UNC class of 2020, class of 2021, 2022, because people talk in there, you know, about things going on in classes. So yeah, there's just a huge network when you're on campus, and then when you leave campus, there is 100 years of a network, you know, because alumni like alumni on LinkedIn, you know, you can just get on there and put UNC Chapel Hill and connect with a bunch of alumni. You never know who you're going to find. Your next job, there might be an alumni, and it's a connection there for something for you to talk about. So Tar Heels are all over the world, and you make amazing connections when you're there, and then it's a great connection to have with someone new when you get out. Next thing I will say about UNC is that it has an amazing nightlife, and I think most people don't talk about this. You know, I remember going in to UNC, I was like, is there a nightlife? Like, do people go out? Like, I literally thought, you know, it was just academic, because UNC is a really prestigious public school, if you will, and boy was I wrong. Franklin Street has some awesome bars. I mean, Franklin Street is like this, it's like bar, 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 bar. There's Rosemary Street right behind it, it's like bar, bar, bar. So if you want to go to bars, it has that. Has a couple like clubby type things. That wasn't really what I would do, but there is that too. A couple of my faves, if you're gonna go, Goodfellas is number one. Might as well is fun for later nights. Back bar is really fun for like the beginning of the night for me. So, you know, the nightlife is there, and when you're a freshman, you're not 21, trust me, there's plenty of parties, plenty of things for you to do. And if partying is not your thing, that's totally fine too. There's so many people there that you'll meet who will just have, you know, kickbacks, just hanging out with your friends on a Friday, Saturday night. There's a lot to do, and, you know, work hard, play hard. I would say that's the motto at UNC. People have fun and love it there so much. You know, you gotta let loose a little bit when you're so stressed out with school. Next thing I will mention is Chapel Hill is an amazing location in North Carolina. You are only about 30 minutes outside of Raleigh, which is North Carolina's capital. It's got a lot of really fun things to do there. You're also 15 minutes from Durham, which has another university that we will not be named, but on occasion it is fun to go out there or go do things there. You're only about 2 hours from Wilmington, which is a beautiful beach in North Carolina. I probably went there once a month, honestly, because I had friends who went to a university there, so I honestly went there really often. And you're about 3 hours from Asheville, which is a beautiful town in North Carolina, mountains. It's a really cool place. Really like boho vibes there. The downtown's really fun, lots of fun breweries. And it's a great mountain weekend type place to go. And then you're only 2 hours from Charlotte, which is the biggest city in North Carolina. So, you know, weekend trips, if those are your thing, there's unlimited things around you to go take a nice weekend trip. For me, I was usually going to Wilmington, Raleigh, close enough to Raleigh where you can just go for a night if you wanted to. So yeah, Chapel Hill is an amazing location in general. So those are all the pros that I had listed for UNC. You know, UNC is a top school. It's constantly ranked #1 public university, so it has a lot of great things about it. Another one is that it is public, so it is cheaper. And, you know, I could probably go on with a list of pros, but let's be real and let's move on to some cons. I think that's just as important, because you want to weigh, every school has its cons. So let's get into the cons about UNC. So the first con that I have listing is that classes are hard and you will have a ton of homework. So I think the #1 thing I hear when I talk to people is that UNC is hard. You talk to your friends who are at other schools, they're flying through with A's, partying every weekend, they got a 4.0, and you're like struggling to even pass. I would have friends who would take notoriously hard classes like Orgo at other schools over the summer or online through other schools just to avoid having to take it through UNC. That's because they don't hold us to a higher standard. It's more difficult to get in, and classes are hard for that reason. You know, don't underestimate your workload when you get in there. It's not going to be easy, and you'll probably have moments where you're annoyed because your friend at some other university is having no problems, just getting right through it. But, you know, just remember where you're at. Remember that you should be proud to be there, and that it's not going to be easy, but you can do it. Another con that I have for UNC is parking. Parking gets a big fat F at UNC. There is very, very limited parking there. So my freshman year, I did not bring a car because there's no parking, and freshmen don't get parking passes. So that's something to think about as well, unless you wanted to buy off-campus parking. But, you know, even with that, you have to take an Uber to your car. You know, for me, it wasn't worth that. And then my next 3 years, sophomore, junior, senior, I applied for parking passes. I never got one. I was lucky enough to live in a house, so I had parking at my house, but I walk to campus every day 20 minutes, and yeah, there's very limited parking. There's a lot of people in a small area because Chapel Hill itself isn't large for there to be tens of thousands of people there. So, you know, I would say parking is extremely difficult, and if you do get parking, it's expensive. Along with that, for a con is housing. Apartment lists fill up really quickly, especially the popular apartments. There will be waiting lists for the year ahead, 8 months before the leasing starts. People start looking for housing in October, November of the prior year. So you start school in August, October, November, you got to start looking for housing for the next year. I'm not kidding. It's insane. Like I said, there's tens of thousands of people in a small area, and lots of people want to be walking distance to the university. You know, if you're willing to live a little bit further out and take a bus or something, you'll probably have an easier time, but most students, myself included, wanted to live within walking distance. I ended up getting a house for 6 people, so we had 6 people living in it, and it was still 20 minutes out. So it's just for so many people to be working, commuting, studying in this area, there's honestly not enough housing. And that being said too, university here, the closer you are, the more expensive your rent is going to be. So, you know, that's something to consider when you start looking for your housing in Chapel Hill. So those were the 3 things that stood out to me my whole 4 years as a con. And then I'll kind of end this pros and cons off with one that I think could be a pro or a con, kind of depending on who you are. I think for me, it was half and half, is a very large university. I think there's, don't quote me, it's either 20 or 40,000 undergrads, which is a lot. And you know, it can be great because you can meet new people, you can meet someone new every day. You decide you don't want to be friends with your friend group, you can go join another club and you'll probably never see them. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to stand out. So it can be competitive because a lot of people are applying for the same jobs, same research positions, same internships. And it can feel lonely, you know, if you don't have a group of friends. I think being in a large university can sometimes be lonely. I would say for me, mainly it was a pro because I liked seeing new people and meeting new people, and if I didn't want to see someone ever again, I could easily not see them, if that makes sense. So, you know, it's definitely something to think about what you prefer as a person. Do you prefer lots and lots of people, or do you want something smaller where you would know everybody and they would know you? So, you know, it's definitely something to consider. I think that's definitely on a person-to-person basis. Last thing I want to do really quickly is give you my stats. I was freshman class of 2016 is when I came in. I graduated in 2020. I know if you're applying for UNC or something, you might want to know something like this, so I'm just going to read them out because it's so long ago now that I'm like, I don't have too much to say about it. But ACT, I got a 31. I took that twice. SAT, I got a 1960, which I know the SAT changed, so the scoring is different now. That was out of 2400, which was the 92nd percentile. So if you can do the conversion, I'm not sure what the new SAT is. My GPA was a 4.0 unweighted, so I made all A's in all classes, and weighted it was, I put 4.6 or 4.8. Like I said, it was a while ago now. I don't really remember. I know I took 3 to 4 AP classes, and I was dual enrolled my senior year at a community college, so I was starting college classes. I did do a varsity sport, and I was active in 2 to 3 clubs, and in one I was an executive. So that's just kind of like my basic stats for applying to UNC. I don't know, I guess people want to compare and things like that, so I thought I'd throw that in at the end of this video. Okay guys, so that is my pros and cons list of UNC. UNC is an amazing university. I wouldn't take back anything that happened. I had some ups and downs, had some hard classes, had some easy classes, but I wouldn't take it back for a second. I look on it so fondly. You know, UNC set me up for where I'm going now, and I'm really happy at where I ended up. But I wanted to give you a very holistic look at UNC. I think the pros, in my opinion, greatly outweigh the cons, because most of the cons you can kind of deal with or work around. If you're an incoming freshman, congratulations. You know, it might not feel like it in the moment, but it really is the best 4 years like you can imagine. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Definitely check out a few of my other videos. I've been uploading multiple videos a week, and don't forget to subscribe, check out my Instagram, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.